Are you thinking about downsizing in Los Angeles? Watch this before you sell. If you own a home on the West Side and have started wondering whether it still makes sense for the next chapter of your life, this video is for you. Maybe the kids have moved out. Maybe you are tired of maintaining rooms you rarely use. Maybe you want fewer stairs, less yard work, more travel, or simply a home that feels easier. Or maybe you're sitting on substantial equity and wondering whether selling could create more financial flexibility. But here is the part people often underestimate. Downsizing in Los Angeles is not automatically simple, and it is not always cheaper. You can sell a larger house and discover that the smaller home you actually want costs nearly as much. You can reduce your square footage but increase your monthly HOA costs. You can move farther from the West Side and gain space but lose the lifestyle and relationships that made you love your neighborhood in the first place. So today, I'm going to walk through how to decide whether you should stay, sell, or downsize, what the current Los Angeles market is telling us, the financial and tax questions you need to consider, and what several realistic destination options may look like. I have lived in Los Angeles for 25 years, including on the West Side, in the Valley, and in the South Bay. Those are areas that are geographically close, but they provide very different daily lives. My goal is not to convince you to sell. In some situations, staying, remodeling, or waiting is absolutely the right answer. My goal is to help you understand the trade-offs clearly enough that you can make a confident decision for yourself. Before we begin, an important disclaimer. I am Caroline Cookie Park of Caroline Park Properties and Equity Union. I'm a licensed real estate professional, but I am not a CPA, tax attorney, estate planning attorney, financial advisor, nor insurance professional. The examples in this video are educational and hypothetical. Your taxes, selling costs, property tax treatment, insurance costs, and net proceeds will depend on your specific circumstances. Before making a decision, you should consult the appropriate licensed professionals. So let's begin with the question that matters most. Are you actually ready to downsize, or are you simply frustrated with your current house? Those are not always the same thing. A homeowner may say, "This house is too much," when the real issue is deferred maintenance, an outdated kitchen, too many possessions, or a floor plan that no longer works. Sometimes a renovation, professional organization, landscaping help, or converting a ground floor room into a primary suite can solve the problem without requiring a move. On the other hand, there are situations in which the house itself has become an obstacle. You may be paying to heat, cool, insure, maintain, and repair space that you no longer use. You may be avoiding travel because you do not want to leave the property unattended. You may have stairs that are becoming less appealing. You may want to live closer to friends, family, restaurants, medical care, or the beach. A useful question is, if you did not already own your current house, would you choose to buy it today for your present lifestyle? The next issue is the current market. As of 2026, middle of, California's housing market is neither collapsing nor returning to the frenzy of the pandemic years. Statewide sales improved in June, but affordability remained a major constraint. California's median single-family home price was approximately $905,000 in June, slightly higher than 1 year earlier, while sales remained well below historical norms despite improving year over year. Mortgage rates are a major reason activity remains restrained. In mid-July, the average national rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage was about 6.55%. And that matters even for homeowners with significant equity because many downsizers still finance part of the replacement purchase. And buyers purchasing their existing homes may also be rate sensitive. Los Angeles is also not just one market. Across LA County, recent data placed the median sale price at approximately $937,000, but that countywide figure includes dozens of very different cities, property types, and price points. On the West Side, prices are significantly higher and results vary from one neighborhood and even one street to the next. In Mar Vista, recent data showed a median sale price of around $1.8 million, dollars, with homes taking roughly 37 days to sell. In zip code 90066, more broadly, homes were selling in about 40 days, and the median was approximately $1.77 million. Dollars. A separate current inventory report for the zip code showed a median asking price of approximately $2.35 million dollars for single family homes, 67 active homes, and about 21% of listings having reduced their asking price. The area was still classified as a strong seller's market, but the price reductions tell us that buyers are selective and that aspirational pricing is being punished. That is an important distinction. A strong seller's market does not mean that every seller can name any price and expect an offer. It means that demand remains healthy relative to supply. Condition, presentation, location, lot utility, architectural appeal, and pricing strategies still determine which homes sell quickly and which ones sit. For a downsizing homeowner, this creates both an opportunity and a challenge. Your Westside home may still attract strong interest if it is positioned correctly. At the same time, you may be purchasing in another competitive neighborhood. You are not simply a seller, you are also becoming a buyer. That is why the first analysis should not be, what can I sell my house for? It should be, what would I realistically net, and what kind of replacement lifestyle could that net amount purchase? So let's use three simple examples. Suppose your home sells for $1.8 million. That is not the same as walking away with $1.8 million. You would first subtract any mortgage or other liens. You would also account for negotiated brokerage, compensation, escrow, and title costs, transfer taxes that vary by jurisdiction, repairs, preparation, staging, moving expenses, and possibly income taxes on part of the gain. If you owed $500K, your gross equity before selling expenses and taxes would be about $1.3 million. If the property sold for $2.3 million and you owed $400K, your gross equity before those expenses would be about $1.9 million. If the property sold for $3 million and you owed $600K, your gross equity before expenses would be about $2.4 million. Now, those are not net proceeds estimates. They are merely the sale price minus the hypothetical mortgage balance. A proper seller analysis should include a detailed estimate net sheet based on the property, expected preparation plan, jurisdiction, title information, and your personal financing and tax situation. Capital gains planning is especially important for longtime Westside owners. Under federal rules, a qualifying homeowner may generally exclude up to $250,000 of gain if filing individually, or $500K for a qualified married couple filing jointly. The basic rule generally requires meeting ownership and use tests for at least 2 of the 5 years before the sale, along with other eligibility conditions. California generally conforms to the federal principal residence exclusion rules. But gain is not simply your sale price minus what you originally paid. The calculation involves your adjusted basis, selling expenses, qualifying capital improvements, and other factors. The IRS explains that selling expenses reduced the amount realized, while qualifying improvements may increase adjusted basis. That is why receipts and records for major renovations, additions, new systems, and substantial improvements can be extremely valuable. Imagine that you purchased a West Side home decades ago for $450,000 and now sell it for $2.3 million. Even after accounting for improvements and selling expenses, you may have gain that substantially exceeds the standard exclusion. That does not mean selling is a bad decision. It means you should understand the tax impact before setting a replacement home budget. Do not wait until the property is already in escrow to begin that conversation with your CPA. The second major tax issue is Proposition 19. For qualifying California homeowners who are at least 55 years old, severely and permanently disabled, or victims of qualifying wildfires or natural disasters, Prop 19 may permit the transfer of the property's taxable base value to a replacement primary residence anywhere in California. The replacement generally must be purchased or newly constructed within 2 years of the sale of the original primary residence. Qualifying homeowners who are over 55 or severely disabled may use the benefit up to 3 times. If the replacement property is equal to or less than the qualifying value of the original home, the original factored base year value may generally transfer without an additional value adjustment. If the replacement is more expensive, the amount by which it exceeds the qualifying value of the original property is generally added to the transferred taxable value. Here is a simplified illustration. Suppose a qualifying homeowner has a current assessed taxable value of $600,000, even though the home is worth $2 million. dollars. If that homeowner sells and purchases a qualifying replacement residence for an equal or lower value, Prop 19 may allow the lower taxable base to transfer subject to the exact rules and assessor approval. If the replacement residence costs more than the original property's qualifying market value, the excess value may be added to the transferred taxable base. That can make a major difference in annual property taxes, but you not rely on a rough verbal estimate. Confirm eligibility and calculations with the county assessor and a qualified tax professional before making an irreversible decision. Now, let's talk about where a West Side homeowner might move. The first option is not leaving the West Side at all. You might sell a large single family home and purchase a smaller home, townhouse, or condominium in Mar Vista, Playa Vista, Westchester, Culver City, Santa Monica, Brentwood, West LA, or another nearby community. The advantage is continuity. You may keep the same doctors, restaurants, friendships, volunteer organizations, routines, and proximity to the ocean. Your adult children may still find it convenient to visit. You know how long it takes to get to Century City, LAX, Beverly Hills, downtown Culver City, or the beach. You are changing the house without changing your life. But there are several potential traps. First, a desirable smaller home on the west side may not be inexpensive. You might sell a 2,500 square foot house and discover that the attractive 1,500 square foot home you actually like still costs well over $1.5 million. dollars. Second, condominiums and townhouses can simplify exterior maintenance, but they introduce HOA dues, reserves, rules, insurance considerations, special assessment risk, and potential limits on leasing, pets, remodeling, or parking. Third, many smaller West Side homes are older. A reduced footprint does not necessarily mean maintenance if the property has aging plumbing, electrical systems, roof, sewer, foundation, drainage, or HVAC. So when someone says, "I want to downsize," I ask what they actually want to reduce. Do you want to reduce square footage, monthly expenses, maintenance, stairs, responsibility, or distance from the people and places you value? Those goals can point to very different properties. The second option is Sherman Oaks or another Central Valley neighborhood. Sherman Oaks is a compelling option for a West Side homeowner who still wants to feel connected to Los Angeles but wants a stronger chance of finding a larger lot, a pool, a single level floor plan, more interior space, or a quieter residential street. Recent data placed the Sherman Oaks median sale price at approximately $1.35 million dollars compared with roughly $1.8 million dollars in Mar Vista. Sherman Oaks homes were taking longer to sell, about 56 days in the most recent data, which can create more negotiating opportunities on certain properties. Of course, medians do not mean that equivalent homes cost exactly that amount. Sherman Oaks includes condos, hillside homes, smaller homes, luxury estates, busy streets, quiet pockets, properties north and south of Ventura Boulevard, and homes with very different views, lots, and condition. But broadly, a West Side homeowner may be able to exchange some coastal proximity for physical property. The benefits can include a pool, more usable yard, easier guest parking, a wider street, or a more functional one level home. The trade offs are real. However, summers are hotter, traffic patterns can become the deciding factor. A home that appears close to the west side on a map may feel much farther away during peak traffic. Hillside properties can introduce fire risk, insurance issues, drainage, slope, retaining wall, and access concerns. Some streets are quiet and spacious, others are heavily traveled. I would never recommend Sherman Oaks purely because it appears to provide more square footage per dollar. I would recommend it when the valley lifestyle itself fits the homeowner. You may enjoy spending more time at home. You may value a yard or pool more than walking to the beach. You may no longer commute every day. You may want easier access to family in the valley or northern Los Angeles. You may prefer the restaurants and daily convenience around Ventura Boulevard. I have lived in the valley, and it is not simply a lower cost substitute for the west side. It is its own lifestyle. The third option is the South Bay. This category needs to be handled carefully because the South Bay does not describe one housing market. For instance, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, Torrance, El Segundo, and the Palos Verdes Peninsula can differ dramatically in price, density, topography, commute, school district, lot size, and proximity to the water. For example, recent data the median sale price in Manhattan Beach, 90266, at approximately $3.75 million. That is not exactly a downsizing bargain for homeowners. Redondo Beach was closer to approximately $1.6 million, while Torrance was approximately $1.2 million in recent data. Palm Springs, by contrast, was around $659,000. These are broad medians across all home types, not apples to apples comparisons, but they illustrate how dramatically location changes the financial equation. For someone who wants beach-oriented living, community, cooler weather, and slightly more contained feeling than central LA, Redondo Beach can be very attractive. For someone prioritizing practical space and value, Torrance deserves serious consideration. Certain areas of Torrance can offer a more usable home for the money than prime coastal Westside neighborhoods, while still providing access to the South Bay lifestyle. But values vary substantially across North Torrance, Old Torrance, South Torrance, the Hollywood Riviera area, and other pockets. The city boundary, school district, lot configuration, street, proximity to commercial areas, airport paths, and distance from the beach all matter. The South Bay can also change your relationship with the rest of Los Angeles. You may love being near the water and rarely want to leave, but trips to the West Side, Beverly Hills, the Valley, or eastern parts of Los Angeles may become far less convenient than expected. That is why I suggest testing the lifestyle before buying. Spend several full days in the area. Drive the routes you would actually use. Visit the grocery stores, restaurants, gyms, beach access points, and medical providers. Go during weekday travel, not only on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Option is Palm Springs or the desert. Palm Springs can create a very different financial and lifestyle outcome. Recent data placed the citywide median sale price at approximately $659,000, as I mentioned, meaning a Westside seller with substantial equity may be able to purchase without a large mortgage or possibly without financing at all, depending on the property and net proceeds, of course. The potential advantages are obvious: modern architecture, pools, entertaining space, a slower pace, and significantly lower acquisition prices than many Westside communities. But do not evaluate a desert purchase based only on the listing price. You should consider summer utility costs, heat tolerance, insurance, HOA, or land lease terms where applicable, pool maintenance, medical access, seasonal tourism, distance from family, and whether you want a full-time residence or a second home lifestyle. Some homeowners sell their primary residence and move entirely. Others retain a smaller LA base and purchase in the desert. Others rent in the desert first before deciding. A trial rental can be a smart form of due diligence. Okay, the fifth option is leaving California. This can produce the greatest apparent financial benefit, but it is also the option most likely to be oversimplified. Yes, many states offer lower home prices or income taxes and property taxes, but moving is not simply a spreadsheet decision. You are changing climate, healthcare networks, community politics, access, travel patterns, insurance markets, estate planning considerations, and sometimes the character of your daily life. You may also remain California tax on gain from the sale of California real property, even if you relocate. California real estate transactions can also involve withholding requirements. Withholding is a prepayment rather than necessarily the final tax liability. So before leaving the state, I would recommend renting for a meaningful period in the destination area, ideally during its least attractive season. Do not make a permanent move based on a vacation experience. Now let's address one of the most stressful questions for a downsizer. Should you sell first or buy first? Selling first gives you certainty. You know your actual net proceeds. You are not carrying two homes indefinitely. You can make a replacement offer with a clearer financial picture and possibly without a sale contingency. But selling first may require temporary housing, storage, or rent back, or moving twice. It may also create emotional pressure to buy something quickly because you no longer have a permanent home. Buying first, however, gives you control over the replacement property. You can move gradually, prepare the old home after it is vacant, and avoid settling for a property simply because your sale has closed. But buying first may require cash, bridge financing, a home equity line, securities-backed financing, or the financial ability to carry both homes. Those strategies involve qualification standards, interest costs, market risk, and potentially significant financial exposure. There is no universal best sequence. The decision depends on your available liquidity, current mortgage, income, risk tolerance, replacement market, expected saleability of your home, and willingness to move twice. For some homeowners, the right structure may be a longer escrow or negotiated rent back. For others, it may be buying first and listing the original home after it is vacant and prepared. And yet for others, the responsible answer is to sell first, rent for 6 months, and remove the pressure from the purchase. This is where a coordinated plan matters more than simply putting a sign in the yard. A good downsizing plan should involve your real estate agent, lender, CPA, financial advisor, estate planning attorney where appropriate, and possibly a professional organizer or move manager. Now, let's talk about preparation. Many longtime owners assume they must completely renovate before selling. Usually, that is not the right starting assumption. The goal is not to create your personal dream house for the next buyer. The goal is to identify which improvements are most likely to improve marketability, reduce buyer objections, and support a stronger sale price relative to cost and risk. That may include paint, lighting, landscaping, flooring, decluttering, window cleaning, minor repairs, deep cleaning, staging, or improving the first impression. It may not include a full kitchen remodel. In some cases, the best decision is to sell with limited preparation and price accordingly. In other cases, a carefully managed improvement plan can create a meaningful return. The answer depends on the home, the neighborhood, buyer profile, timing, and condition. I would also distinguish between cosmetic issues and major systems. A buyer can easily understand that they may eventually change paint colors or countertops. They become much more cautious when they are uncertain about the roof, foundation, sewer, drainage, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, permits, insurance, or structural integrity. For a longtime homeowner, a pre-listing inspection or targeted specialist review may be valuable. Not because every issue must be repaired, but because surprises discovered during escrow weaken negotiating leverage. Knowledge allows you to price and disclose strategically. Another common mistake is beginning with decluttering instead of decision making. People spend months sorting closets before they know where they are even going. So instead, first determine the likely destination, home type, approximate square footage, parking needs, storage, pet needs, accessibility, guest accommodations, and lifestyle priorities. Once you understand the replacement home, it becomes much easier to decide what furniture and belongings will realistically fit. Here is the process that I recommend. First, determine the current market range for your home, not from an automated online estimate, but from recent comparable sales, active competition, condition, lot, location, and buyer behavior. Second, prepare an estimated seller net sheet using realistic, not optimistic numbers. Third, speak with a CPA about the estimated adjusted basis, capital gains exposure, and documentation for improvements. Fourth, if applicable, investigate Prop 19 eligibility with the assessor and tax advisor. Fifth, define 2 or 3 replacement scenarios. For example, scenario 1, sell the Westside home and purchase a smaller home nearby. Scenario 2, move to Sherman Oaks and prioritize a single-level home with a pool. Scenario 3, move to Torrance or Redondo Beach and prioritize community and coastal access. Scenario 4, purchase in Palm Springs and retain substantial liquidity. Scenario 5, rent for a year, and postpone the permanent decision. Then compare not only the purchase prices, but the total monthly and annual ownership costs. Include property taxes, HOA dues, insurance, utilities, maintenance, pool service, landscaping, travel, and expected repairs. A less expensive purchase price can still produce surprisingly high carrying costs. Finally, consider the emotional cost. Would moving make your life easier or merely different? Would you miss walking to your favorite coffee shop? Would you feel isolated from your friends? Would your adult children visit less frequently? Would you enjoy not maintaining a yard, or would you miss gardening? Would a condo feel freeing or restrictive? Would a pool add joy or simply become another maintenance item? The best downsizing decision aligns the financial outcome with the emotional outcome. So, when should you stay? You may be better off staying if your home is largely paid off, your property tax basis is low, the house remains safe and functional, you love your neighborhood, and the replacement options do not meaningfully improve your life. You may also stay if transaction costs and taxes would consume too much of the financial benefit, or if you are not emotionally ready to make a permanent decision. Staying is not failure to act. It can be a deliberate strategy. You might remodel for accessibility, hire maintenance support, add a ground floor bedroom, create an ADU for family or income, subject to zoning and feasibility, of course, or rent the house temporarily while testing another area. So, when does selling make more sense? Selling may make sense when the home's upkeep is limiting your life, the property no longer matches your physical or emotional needs. A move would free meaningful liquidity, or you would have a clear replacement plan that improves your day-to-day experience. So the key word is clear. Do not list first and hope the rest works itself out. Before you sell, you should know your likely sale range, estimated net, potential tax exposure, buying power, replacement options, preferred sequence, and fallback plan. My role in that process is not simply to give you a suggested list price. It is to help you compare the entire move. What could your home sell for as is? What preparation is worth doing? What would you likely net? What could you buy nearby in Sherman Oaks, in the South Bay, or in the desert? Would you need financing? Should you sell or buy first? What could go wrong, and how could we reduce that risk before you commit? That is the level of planning a major life transition deserves. So here is my final takeaway. Downsizing should not begin with the question, how small of a home can I tolerate? It should begin with, how do I want the next 10 years of my life to feel? More freedom, more travel, more walkability, a pool, the beach, less maintenance, more financial flexibility, closer proximity to family. Once that answer is clear, the real estate strategy becomes much easier. If you own a Westside home and are beginning to think through these questions, I offer a complimentary downsizing and relocation strategy consultation. That conversation can include an initial valuation of your current home, a preliminary estimated net sheet, and a comparison of realistic replacement options without any obligation to list nor make a decision. You may discover that selling now makes sense. You may discover that you should wait. You may discover that a smaller Westside home is the right answer, or that Sherman Oaks, Torrance, Redondo Beach, Palm Springs, or another market gives you a better fit. Either way, you will have better and more information. Leave a comment with the Los Angeles neighborhood you would consider moving to, and subscribe for more honest, practical guidance about buying, selling, and living in Los Angeles. I'm Caroline Cookie Park with Caroline Park Properties at Equity Union, and I'm always happy to be a resource.